The greatest spiritual truth is not hidden in ancient texts or distant monasteries. It is operating right now, beneath the surface of your awareness, as a silent, undeniable law of physics. I tell you this, the force you have been taught to call God is not a sentimental belief system, nor a distant judging entity requiring specific dogma. It is an active, measurable energy, a fundamental frequency of creation that you have been trained through cultural density and philosophical limitation to ignore. I know the very moment I speak those words, spiritual physics, the analytical engine in your brain begins its protective shutdown. Your logical, terrestrial self is already attempting to file this powerful concept under philosophy, myth, or merely wishful thinking, X. That programmed skepticism insists that anything unseen must be categorized as coincidence, psychology, or a charming distraction from the hard realities of matter. You are conditioned to believe that the cosmos is a silent, dead mechanism, and that profound feelings are only chemical reactions, but I must guide you past that ingrained resistance. For decades, the sleeping prophet Edgar Cayce accessed a universal library of knowledge through deep trance, defining this essential force not as abstract theology, but as the underlying energy of existence, the law of love in action. It is the creative stream that binds every atom in the cosmos. What if the profound restlessness you feel, the persistent, powerful sensation that you are made for more than the mundane cycle of consumption and survival, isn't evidence of a deficit or a disorder to be medicated, but proof that you are perpetually touching the edges of this divine energy, struggling to let it flow through you? Why? This energy doesn't require blind faith to exist. It demands only recognition. It is like the force of gravity. Whether you believe in it or not, it dictates the trajectory of your existence. And if this energy is universal and fundamental, then it must leave undeniable traces, specific, repeatable signatures within your daily life. These are not vague sentiments or fleeting hallucinations. They are 5 unmistakable signs active in you right now, proving that Cayce's definition of God is not an abstract theory, but an immediate, felt reality. We miss them because we constantly categorize them incorrectly. We mistake the quiet, powerful hum of connection for mundane luck. We mistake spiritual redirection for a sudden bout of anxiety. Have you ever experienced a sudden, inexplicable surge of clarity, one that felt like a cosmic download, an undeniable knowing that circumvented all logic, only to dismiss it moments later as a random, quirky thought? That was the force-seeking expression. These signs are proof that your soul is perpetually conversing with the creator energy, waiting for you to simply listen. Are you ready to stop treating the universe as a silent mechanism and start recognizing the language of the divine operating within your own consciousness? I know precisely what internal conversation is happening within your mind right now. That sharp, skeptical voice, the one trained in scientific certainty and verifiable fact, is currently mobilizing its defenses, preparing to file away everything you've just heard as romantic fantasy or wishful thinking. Your mind, the magnificent calculator you rely upon to navigate traffic and taxis, insists that concepts like the creator energy and soul's conversation are entirely too soft, too abstract, and dangerously close to the realm of self-delusion. I honor that resistance. It is not a flaw. It is the natural, protective architecture of a consciousness trying to survive in a heavy, physical world. This logical mechanism has kept you safe, but it is fundamentally incapable of perceiving the things that truly nourish you. This is exactly where the vast majority of genuine seekers falter and fall into frustration. They assume the spiritual process requires arduous, external seeking. You have been conditioned to believe that the divine is a distant treasure, hidden high upon a sacred mountain that requires decades of strenuous climbing, exhausting rituals, and the mastery of esoteric knowledge to reach. You chase the feeling, the external confirmation, the book that holds the final answer, and when the answer remains elusive, your logical mind concludes that you must be the failure, X. But what if I revealed that your profound frustration, the ache that drives you to endless spiritual pursuits, is not the sign of a deficiency, but the direct consequence of hunting for the ocean while standing waist-deep in the tide. Edgar Cayce's teachings demonstrated repeatedly that the core struggle is a misidentification. Humanity confuses the search for the source. Your unease is not a moral failing or a lack of intellectual capacity. It is merely the friction generated by the ego trying to grasp something that is fundamentally the ground upon which you stand. Why? Tell me honestly, have you ever felt the weight of trying to be spiritual, exhausting yourself with complex routines when all you really desired was simple, unwavering clarity? That exhaustion is the signal that you are operating in the mode of seeking, attempting to fill a void that does not exist. The great paradox is that you are not struggling to find God. You are struggling to allow the awareness of God, which is already the root structure of your being, to permeate your daily experience. You do not need to hunt for the light. You need only recognize that the light is what you are made of. Are you willing just for a moment to grant your soul permission to drop the heavy burden of the hunt and finally begin the practice of simply being the divine frequency you were created to be? We must now turn our attention to the specific manifestations of this presence, the quiet proofs woven into the tapestry of your waking life that confirm this energy is active, powerful, and ready for your recognition. The profound active energy within you is ready for recognition, yet the disciplined, skeptical part of you, the part engineered for survival in this dense reality, cannot simply accept the invisible without irrefutable evidence. You need a cartographer for the interior landscape of the soul, someone whose measurements were taken under conditions where personal bias was impossible. To trust the map, you must first trust the mapmaker. I am speaking of Edgar Cayce, the man history calls the sleeping prophet. Consider the sheer beautiful paradox of his life, an unassuming man, barely possessing a grade school education, who provided the world's most extensive archive of spiritual physics, health and karmic destiny, all while profoundly unconscious. Your logical processor, already spinning up defenses, wants to categorize this phenomenon as either simple fraud, clinical hypnosis, or the strange, fleeting output of a gifted psychic, X. But I ask you to look past the how and focus on the astounding statistical result. We are talking about more than 14,000 documented readings, an ocean of data collected across half a century, consistently charting the same cosmic blueprints. This isn't anecdotal evidence gathered in a seance. This is the equivalent of constructing the entire operating manual for the human soul, while the operating system was switched off. What Cayce achieved, through the consistent voice of the source speaking through him, was not just prediction or diagnosis. It was a fundamental redefinition of the divine. This collective work pulls the divine concept out of the clouds and plants it firmly within immutable law. It differentiates the signal. The source is not a judgmental personage sitting on a remote throne, weighing sin and dealing out fate, X. Rather, it is a responsive, omnipresent principle, a vibrational, energetic law that operates with perfect justice and coherence. Why? It is the field of limitless potential that responds instantly to the frequency you choose to embody. Do you see the revolutionary freedom embedded in this revelation? If source is a principle, then authority is not external. Authority is the mastery of your own resonance within that field. The ultimate credibility of the sleeping prophet lies not just in the volume of his readings, but in the unflinching consistency of this singular message. You are intrinsically connected to a power that defines your reality through your alignment, not through your petition. Have you ever considered that the highest spiritual guidance is never about telling you what to do, but simply explaining the physics of what is? This consistent archive serves as the anchor, the proof that the energy we are discussing, the energy active and waiting for your recognition, is not a delusion but the foundational architecture of existence. Now that we have established the credibility of the messenger, we can turn our attention to the specific language of the principle itself. Are you ready to stop searching for the signs outside of yourself and finally read the blueprints already etched into your daily experience? The deepest spiritual physics revealed through the decades of readings, the true underlying cosmology of existence, is not complex but profoundly demanding, because it dismantles the very foundation of fear you were taught to trust. We must for a moment abandon the old familiar architectural model that positions the divine as a celestial monarch, seated on a throne of marble and demanding constant moral appeasement. Your highly logical, pragmatic mind, which has been conditioned since childhood to seek external approval and avoid punishment, is already mobilizing its internal resistance against this concept. You have been taught that the source requires petition and fear, classifying your current suffering as either divine test or moral consequence, X. But I must guide you past that narrow terrestrial understanding. The core insight emerging from the Cayce readings is this: God is not judgment. God is universal law. The source is not a fickle king demanding tribute, capable of sudden wrath or arbitrary mercy. The source is the inviolable principle of cause and effect, the perfect, silent, self-executing mechanism of energy. The law of attraction, applied not as a marketing slogan, but as the foundational bedrock of existence. Why? This distinction is crucial because it immediately shifts the responsibility from an angry external judge to the internal instrument you carry, your own body and consciousness. Think of the universal law as the master frequency, a perfect pitch of harmony and wholeness continuously broadcast across all dimensions. This frequency does not judge the instruments, it merely is. And you, my friend, are the tuning fork. Your physical body, your emotional energy, and the pattern of your consistent thought are the materials that determine your resonant quality. The suffering you experience, the misalignment, the sense of being permanently adrift, this is not punishment, it is merely dissonance. If the tuning fork is bent, or caked with the residue of fear, or vibrating at the low, desperate frequency of anger, it simply cannot resonate with the master pitch. It is a mechanical failure, not a moral one. The golden rule, then, is not merely a polite suggestion for social conduct. It is the fundamental physics of the universe. As you sow, so shall you reap. The energy you project through your thoughts and actions is the precise frequency that returns to you. Are you ready to stop treating your daily struggle as a moral failure and start viewing it instead as a physical indicator, a vibration mismatch that requires tuning? Does this deep foundational shift from a judgmental God to an unwavering impartial law create a powerful relief, or does it, paradoxically, create a new kind of anxiety? If your body is the instrument, then the solution is not to beg forgiveness from an external authority, but to adjust the instrument itself. Your identity is not that of a sinner seeking pardon, it is that of a conscious spiritual physicist, granted the exquisite ability to test and align with the highest law. The signs you have been missing are simply the echoes of your own frequency, waiting for recognition. We must now explore the specific blueprint of this instrument and the 4 subtle gateways through which you either release or constrict this divine energy. Are you prepared to take the tuning fork into your own hands? The tuning fork is in your hands now, and the first lesson in spiritual mastery is to understand where to listen for the resonance. The deepest truth, the core of what Edgar Cayce revealed about the very nature of God, is that the source does not demand complexity or withdrawal from the world. We are burdened by the historical lie that the divine must be found through monumental external labor, painful sacrifice, or by deciphering ancient, inaccessible texts. That is the illusion of scarcity we must shed immediately. We have been culturally conditioned to believe that genuine spiritual manifestation must arrive as a blinding spectacle, a voice from the sky, or a dramatic, earth-shattering miracle, X. But the sublime revelation offered by the readings is this: the highest truth manifests with elegant simplicity, operating through reproducible, quiet physics that are woven into the very fabric of your daily existence. Why? These are not isolated incidents of luck. They are the observable effects of your soul, aligning perfectly with the universal current. They are the feedback mechanisms of your own frequency, and they are accessible to every single human being, regardless of creed, background, or past mistakes. I promise you now 5 specific, undeniable signatures, 5 telltale echoes that prove you are not just thinking about the divine, but actively vibrating as the divine. These signs will appear as shifts in perception, changes in emotional weight, and profound, uncanny external confirmation. Your logical mind, which has been taught for so long that true power resides only in the realm of tangible assets and measurable effort, is already preparing its dismissal. It whispers that this must be mere cognitive bias, wishful thinking, or the power of suggestion. It insists that if these signs were truly divine, they would be visible to the critical gaze of every skeptic on earth. But the language of the soul is subtle, a silent broadcast that can only be picked up by an instrument finely tuned by intention. Have you ever noticed how the most vital life-sustaining energies, like gravity, light, or love itself, are also the most invisible? These 5 signs operate on that principle. When they begin to manifest, you are witnessing the direct creative impulse of the universe utilizing your current incarnation as a pure, unobstructed channel. This is the difference between pursuing salvation and realizing your inherent sanctity. You do not need to pray harder. You need to see clearly. We are about to strip away the theological fog and replace it with a practical, unmistakable roadmap. We move now from theory to observable data, revealing the unmistakable evidence that the source is working through you, not merely for you. We start by exploring the single most misunderstood sign, the first undeniable marker that your frequency is aligned. The strange magnetic pull of profound, unbidden synchronicity. Are you ready to admit that the coincidences in your life are far too deliberate to be accidental? The reality is this: the deep alignment you seek with the divine is not found in spectacular visions or dramatic rescues, but in the relentless, meticulous patterns woven into your everyday life. The first key marker that your own personal frequency is humming in perfect harmony with the source is what we call the curious coincidence. Your pragmatic mind immediately assigns these moments to mere luck, chance, or statistical probability, X. It says, "That was just good timing." I must guide you past that profound dismissal. Edgar Cayce taught us that when the soul is aligned with its divine intention, it is not luck, it is akashic resonance. Why? It means you have tuned your internal receiver to the universal library, and the universe responds by physically manifesting the specific data, people, and resources required for your next spiritual step. This signal is the unmistakable evidence that the creative energy of God is organizing your reality in physical time. Think of it not as a random event, but as a deliberate echo returning precisely when you called out, proving that your inner intention is the tuning fork of your environment. Have you recently noticed objects or information appearing just as you needed them, or received a call from an old friend the very moment you thought of them? These are not accidents. These are physics. Now, recognizing that resonance is vital, but the true evidence of God's indwelling nature is how you feel when the echo returns, or when it seems the world is determined to silence your truth. This brings us to the second undeniable sign, the silence in the eye of the storm. This sign is subtle, often mistaken by observers for indifference, emotional distance, or even pathological numbness, X, during high stress. But when you are truly connected to the source, when you realize that God is not a distant, judgmental figure, but the very foundation beneath your feet, something extraordinary happens. An unshakable inner certainty, why, takes root. When chaos erupts, when the financial market drops or a beloved plan collapses, your exterior circumstances may roar like a Category 5 hurricane, but deep within your core, there is profound, untouchable silence. That stillness is the knowing that regardless of the turbulence, you are eternally tethered to the source. This certainty is the voice of the soul that does not panic because it recognizes the temporary nature of all earthly drama. This is the difference between surviving a storm and being the quiet, constant center of that storm. I ask you now, when was the last time the world was spinning madly around you, and yet you felt an inexplicable, calm certainty that defied all logic? That stillness is not apathy. It is the living evidence that the divine is housed within your own temporary being, waiting to be accessed. Do you recognize that silence as your true home, or do you habitually mistake its peace for passivity? The profound, undeniable peace you access within is not intended to be a fragile relic kept safe behind glass, tucked away in the deepest corner of your meditation practice. If that stillness is truly the recognition of God housed within you, then it must be road-tested against the most abrasive forces of your daily life. I am guiding you now toward the third unmistakable sign that the divine principle is not merely a philosophical concept, but a living, circulating reality within your identity. This is the test of the unjudging mirror. Your logical mind insists upon separation. It meticulously files everyone you meet into categories of ally, neutral, or adversary. It demands that you treat those who offend, challenge, or outright threaten your established worldview with caution, exclusion, or even righteous judgment. We are taught that these difficult people are the spiritual static, the roadblocks to your peace. But I must reveal the truth. Edgar Cayce showed repeatedly that these individuals, the ones who provoke your deepest, most immediate frustration, are your most critical spiritual mirrors. The challenge is not to forgive them based on social courtesy X. The true recognition is the startling realization that you are looking directly at the very same divine spark that fuels your own life. Why? Can you truly look into the eyes of the one who betrayed you, or the one whose politics infuriate you, and recognize not the flawed personality, not the imperfect action, but the identical, indivisible light of creation waiting to emerge? Ask yourself now, in this powerful moment of self-confrontation, who is the person whose name immediately brings a clench to your jaw? Can you, just for a breath, suspend the narrative of their offense and search for the quiet luminescence beneath their flesh? That capacity to see unity, even when the terrestrial data screams division, is the absolute proof that you have internalized the reality of the Creator in all things. This realization leads us immediately to the fourth sign, the principle that seals this spiritual physics, the recharge through giving. Your human operating system is wired to believe that energy, time, and resources are finite quantities. You cling to the notion that the more you dispense, the less you possess, a zero-sum game that breeds anxiety and scarcity. This deep-seated fear is the great barrier to recognizing the true nature of God. But the readings reveal a divine law of circulation. The cosmic current does not flow to you and stop. It flows through you. Therefore, the highest expression of your energetic self is not conservation, but release. When you offer service, genuine selfless service without expectation of return, you are not merely performing an act of social good or fulfilling a moral obligation X. You are instead opening a spiritual floodgate, connecting your temporary vessel to the infinite reservoir Y. It is not an expenditure of energy. It is the condition for receiving a new, explosive influx. When was the last time you served another soul so deeply that, paradoxically, you felt a surge of unearned energy and inexplicable joy, leaving you far more vitalized than before the effort began? Who can you serve today, even in the smallest, most invisible way, to experience that shock of divine electrical current running through your life, proving that the source fills faster than you can empty? This sensation is not dopamine or pride. It is the physical evidence that you are aligned with the universe's ceaseless flow. The true spiritual current you have begun to feel, that undeniable electrical shock of divine purpose, proving that the universe fills faster than you can empty, demands one final radical test. We have charted 4 signs that prove your eternal identity, but the 5th and ultimate sign is not an external event you observe. It is an internal shield you realize you possess. It is the supreme evidence that you are no longer visiting the source, but inhabiting it. The immediate rational part of you, the mind conditioned by lifetimes of scarcity and the cruel physics of decay, will immediately categorize this state as emotional detachment or simple resignation X, believing that true peace must be earned by having everything secured. But I am here to reveal that this deep calm is something far more profound. It is the spontaneous, unforced dissolution of the fear of loss. Why? This is the supreme realization described in the Cayce readings, that you cannot truly lose what you never owned, and yet you can never be separated from what you are. Consider the source of all water. If you perceive yourself as a single, isolated drop, the fear of evaporation, of being lost to the desert earth is terrifying. But what if you finally grasp that you are not merely the drop, but the entire ocean, temporarily residing in that singular, unique form? How can the ocean lose a drop when the drop is the ocean? This realization changes everything. The deepest human trauma is the fear of subtraction, losing status, losing a loved one, losing life itself. But when you align with God, as Cayce understood it, as the ceaseless, infinite, eternal force, you recognize that nothing essential can ever be removed from you. The sign you have been missing, the ultimate confirmation that you are permanently connected, is the moment that this unshakable peace settles upon you, especially in the face of imminent threat. Have you ever felt that radical, unsettling stillness when tragedy approached, realizing that external circumstances could no longer destabilize the center of your soul? That is the definitive spiritual confirmation. It is not apathy or spiritual bypassing. It is the evidence that your identity has shifted from the fragile, temporary vessel to the unbreakable, eternal substance. You suddenly understand, at a cellular level, that even if the physical body fails, the job dissolves, or the fortune vanishes, you remain. You realize that you are not merely aligned with the force, you are the living expression of that force. This radical peace is always available, but it requires practice. It demands that you stop allowing your circumstances to define your substance and instead choose to live as the active, flowing reservoir. The invitation before you now is this: commit to the truth that you are fundamentally incapable of being diminished. Practice looking at the most precious thing you own, or the most vital relationship you maintain, and declare without flinching that even if it were gone tomorrow, the essence of who you are, your connection to the source, would remain utterly complete. This radical acceptance is the final signature that proves you have stopped searching for God outside yourself and have finally begun to live as the truth of what God really is. Now, with this supreme peace as your compass, are you prepared to confront the necessary shadow that such power casts, the quiet, subtle spiritual narcissism that often plagues the path of the awakened soul? The antidote to spiritual narcissism, the quiet, insidious belief that your progress is somehow a personal achievement, isolating you from the collective current, is immediate, total integration. You are not meant to merely acknowledge the principle, you are required to be the principle. You have been taught, and your logical framework reinforces this every day, that spiritual action is something you must perform. You must pray, you must petition, you must seek, you must work to earn grace. X. Your pragmatic mind insists that God is a separate, supreme entity who must be summoned through ritual or plea. But I must tell you, that posture of seeking, that belief in distance, is the very energy that prevents the activation. The time for searching is over. The great mystery revealed through the Cayce readings is that the central creative force is not remote, not waiting in a distant heaven, but is anchored, vibrating, within the very center of your physical heart. So, I ask you now, are you prepared to stop asking for the light and simply allow yourself to become the dwelling place of the light? Tonight, before you surrender to sleep, I invite you into an immediate, profound ritual of recognition. This is not a request. This is an activation. Do not assume the position of the supplicant, bowing low to beg for favors or guidance. That is the old way, a form of spiritual inertia that keeps the power external. Instead, assume the posture of the host who recognizes the divinity of the guest residing at the center of the table. Lie down and place the palm of your hand gently over the physical center of your chest, the heart chakra, the alchemic core of your identity. Breathe slowly, deeply, focusing your entire attention not on the breath itself, but on the profound sensation beneath your hand. Your assignment is radical. Stop asking God to enter, and instead acknowledge that God is already present, actively flowing. This is the differentiation. It is not a request for power, X, but a recognition of the inherent foundational power, Y, that sustains the beating of your heart right now. Feel the pulse. That pulse is not merely biology. It is the vibration of the principle maintaining the physical vehicle you inhabit. As you inhale, imagine drawing light, pure source energy, not from the air, but from the surrounding universal ocean directly into that point beneath your hand. As you exhale, do not release tension. Rather, release the separation. Release the idea that you are separate from the principle. Hold this awareness for 10 slow breaths. Feel the subtle, undeniable warmth bloom in that core area. This warmth is not caloric. It is the friction of the divine spirit integrating fully into the dense matter of your heart. You are not summoning assistance. You are recognizing the divine essence that has always inhabited you, waiting for your permission to be fully lived. Allow the sensation of being inhabited to overwhelm the lingering mental chatter. This is the silence of congruence, the ultimate spiritual practice. Not petition, but embodiment. If you can hold this sacred inertia for 10 minutes, if you can stop searching the world for the signs and feel the sign pulsating within your own heart, you will awaken tomorrow morning having shifted from a seeker of God to an expression of God. Are you ready to discard the old identity of the searcher and finally accept the crown of the fulfilled? The integration is immediate, and the responsibility is immense. What then is the ultimate purpose of accepting this terrifying, beautiful truth? Where does a soul go when it finally recognizes that it is not defined by its limitations, but by its infinite divine potential? The terrifying and beautiful answer to your ultimate purpose is this. The fulfilled soul does not ascend to a higher plane. It descends fully into the present moment, grounded and charged, ready to conduct the divine electricity. I have guided you through the sacred architecture revealed by Edgar Cayce, that God is not a destination or a bearded man on a distant throne, but the infinite, accessible potential dwelling at the core of your own experience. We have crossed the threshold from searching into seeing, and now the critical stage of integration begins. Your terrestrial mind, that stubborn architect of immediate pragmatism, is right now attempting to categorize everything we have discussed. The infinite potential, the cycles of reincarnation, the immediate reality of Christ consciousness, as merely intellectual exercise, or perhaps high-minded, pleasant philosophy, X. It wants to put this truth back on the shelf of interesting ideas to be pondered later. But I tell you, this is not information to be collected, it is an identity to be embodied. The commitment is to stop analyzing the divine presence and start being the divine expression. Why? This requires a final act of will, a profound consecration of the self to the frequency we have uncovered. Ask yourself now, have you truly absorbed the terrifying responsibility of knowing that you are the conduit, the actual channel through which the unmanifest seeks expression? Does the idea of dropping the mask of the limited self feel like liberation, or does it trigger a sudden cold wave of fear? This fear is not failure. It is merely the resistance of the old self fighting for relevance. We have spent this time together tuning an instrument, long silenced by noise, doubt, and earthly definition. We have sought the pure, original tone of your soul. Now, you must hold that resonance unflinchingly. This purity of intention, this conscious commitment to hold the highest frequency of your divine self, requires a seal, a covenant with your own potential. It requires you to set the tone for every action, every thought, every interaction henceforth. I invite you now, if this truth has struck you, if you feel the seismic shift from seeker to source, to make this commitment visible, tangible, and undeniable. Discard the old narratives of lack and inadequacy. Step fully into the identity of the conscious co-creator. Let the world know that you are committed to holding the perfect pitch of your spiritual self. Therefore, comment below with a single powerful word, the word that signifies the instrument used to establish the perfect, absolute frequency of truth, regardless of the surrounding chaos. The word is diapasano. Use it to seal your commitment, not to mere knowledge, but to the unwavering practice of your infinite divine potential. This is the moment you stop searching for God and start letting God express through you. Are you ready to hear your own perfect sound? The journey ends now, not because we have successfully charted the map, but because you are finally realizing that you are the landscape. You have navigated these profound revelations with me, seeking the secret mechanism of purpose, the true nature of the Creator, and the signs of divine choreography in your life. But all that seeking, that frantic, constant effort to reach a higher plane or unlock a hidden door, was not fundamentally a measure of your devotion, X, but a deep, foundational misunderstanding of your origin. For too long, the human spirit has been conditioned to believe that God, the ultimate law or the absolute truth, is a distant fortress, a destination requiring Herculean effort to approach, or a secret frequency you must painfully strive to tune into. Your logical terrestrial mind, trained by thousands of years of separation theology, insists that the infinite resonance must be reduced to rigid rules, commandments, or a cosmic rulebook you must perpetually obey. But the law that Edgar Cayce consistently channeled is not something outside of you to be followed. It is the irreducible physics of creation itself. It is the very material from which your soul is woven. Do you understand the monumental freedom inherent in this truth? When you grasp this, you cease trying to conform to an external standard. You stop fighting the current. Instead, you realize the final transformative mantra, the identity that makes all future seeking obsolete. You do not seek the law. You are the manifestation of the law. This is the ultimate pivot, is the ultimate. If you are the law, then every choice, every moment of compassion, every expression of patient wisdom is not a performance for a celestial judge, but the effortless, inevitable reflection of your inherent divine nature. The profound sense of constantly falling short, of being an isolated soul in need of rescue, of being a broken vessel awaiting permanent repair. This is the old identity that must now be utterly discarded. You are not a pathological example of imperfection, X. You are the flowing source, the flawless geometry of creation made visible, Y. So I ask you one last crucial question. Now that the decades of searching are finished, what will you do with the infinite presence you have successfully located not outside, but entirely within? The practice remaining is simple, yet demanding. It is the unwavering, intentional commitment to let your highest self act without obstruction. Take the word diapaso and let it resonate daily within your core. Let it be the constant reminder that you are not tuning into a frequency. You are setting the absolute, perfect frequency for the entire universe that surrounds you. The sound is yours. The truth is you. Go forth now, not as a student perpetually chasing the light, but as the light itself, made visible and active. The mystery is over. Your reality begins now.